Hello, grade 12. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at organic chemistry, the nomenclature of haloalkanes. Now, with haloalkanes, you have to note this. Haloalkanes are a combination of your halogen and your alkane. So we're still going to follow the same basic structure as we did when naming alkanes. Starting with your prefix, it's going to tell us where are the substituents. So we're going to position the substituents and give out the names of the substituents. In this case, your halogens. Your parent is going to tell us how many carbons are there. So we're going to count how many carbons are in the longest chain and give out the name. The suffix will tell us what family does this belong in. So obviously, because this is haloalkanes, we're dealing with haloalkanes, the suffix will be -ane. Now, if two or more identical substituents are present, we're going to have to use one of the multiplier prefixes. Your di, your tri, and your tetra. Now you have to remember one thing. Your multiplier prefixes do not affect the alphabetical order rule. Now before we get into the lesson, let's revise this. We have meth for 1 carbon, eth for 2 carbons, prop for 3 carbons, but for 4 carbons, pent 5 carbons, hex 6 carbons, your hept for 7 carbons, and oct 8 carbons. Now you have to also note one thing. When naming your haloalkanes, your halogens, you replace the "-ine" from your halogens with O. This fluorine becomes fluoro, chlorine becomes chloro, bromine becomes bromo, iodine becomes iodo. Now you have to note that in grade 12, most of the time we only focus on chloro and bromine. So you need to note this too, chloro, bromo. Now let's start with this one. How many carbon atoms do we have? As we can all see, this is only 1 carbon atom. That means we have meth. So this becomes what? Methane, since it belongs in the haloalkane group. Now we have a halogen here, bromine. So it becomes what? Bromomethane. So no need to give this one a position. You cannot say 1 bromomethane. This is only 1 carbon, so it's just bromomethane. Now coming to this one, we have 1 carbon atom again. So that means we have methane again. But how many chlorine atoms are here? We have 2. That means we have to apply our multiplier prefix. 2 is di, so that's dichloromethane. Now let's look at this one. On this one we have how many carbon atoms? That's 1, 2, and 3. So that's what? Propane. Now let's look at the position of your substituents. We have a substituent in the first carbon here and another chlorine atom in carbon number 3. How many chlorine atoms? That's 2. So we have the positions 1, 3, dichloropropane. Looking at this one again, how many carbon atoms in the chain? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's butane. Now let's look at the position of your substituents. We have bromo in the first carbon, and we have chloro in the second carbon. What is the name of this one? That's 1-bromo-2-chlorobutane. Let's look at another one. Again, we count the carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's look at the substituents. When we check here, we can see that the side that is closest to the substituent is this side, since it's occurring in the first carbon. versus this one where the substituents are in the second carbon, counting from this side. Now that means we have to start numbering from this side. This is carbon number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now on the first carbon we have the bromine atom, and also on the third carbon it's bromine. How many bromine atoms? That's 2. So we have to indicate the positions. This is 1, this is 3, but since there are 2, that's dibromo. Now we have a chlorine atom in carbon number 3, that's 3-chloro. Now what is the name of this one? 1,3-dibromo-3-chloroputane. Now if we're following the alphabetical order rule, why do we have a D coming before C? Now you will note that I said the multiplier prefixes do not affect the alphabetical order rule. That means the di only indicates that there are 2 of these bromine atoms, but it does not affect the alphabetical order rule. We still follow that bromo, B, comes before C. So we ignore the D from di because it's only telling us how many bromine atoms are there. So the name is 1,3-dibromo-3-chloroputane. Let's move to the next one. Now on this one, let's count how many carbons are in the chain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pentane. Now let's start numbering from the side where it is closest to the substituents. Obviously this side. Now we have, this is 1, 2. Carbon number 2 we have a chloro, so this is 2-chloro. Carbon number 3 we have a bromo, so this is 3-bromo. But again, let's remember the alphabetical order rule. B comes before C. So now when naming, we have to start with the bromo and then the chloro. So what is the name of this one? We're going to have 3-bromo, 2-chloropentane. 3-bromo, 2-chloropentane. Let's have a look at this one. Now you can see with this one, it's branched, has an alkyl group. Now we have to number the carbon atoms in the longest chain. Remember, you do not count all the carbons, you only count the carbons in the longest chain. So we can all agree that this is the longest chain here. Now we have 1, 2, 3. Even if we count from either side, still these substituents will be in the same carbon. So we have a substituent here in carbon number 2, that's 2-bromo. And then we also have another substituent here, the alkyl group, that's 2-methyl. But how are we going to name this one? This is going to be 2-bromo, 2-methyl propane. Again, we follow the rule. We first need to start with our substituents here, but the B comes before M, so that's 2-bromo, 2-methyl. Okay, so let's look at this one. With this one, we want to first identify the longest chain. How many carbons are there in the longest chain? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even if you turn from this side, it's still 6. And even from this side, it's still 6. So we have 6, that's hex. So this is hexane. But we have a situation here. When we count from this side, we have 1, 2. In carbon number 2, we have bromine. And then when we also count from this side, this is 1, 2. In carbon number 2, we have 2 methyl groups. Now, what is the rule when numbering this one? The rule is the alkyl groups will always have first preference over the halogens. The alkyl groups will always have first preference over the halogens. What does that mean? It means that when it comes to numbering, we have to number from the side where we see the alkyl groups. That only happens when we have the alkyl group and the halogen in the same carbon position when we number from either side. So this is 1, 2, this is 1, 2. Now we have to decide where do we start numbering. Is it from the side with the halogen or the side with the alkyl groups? With that rule, we know it is the side with the alkyl group. So that means numbering it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So now we have 2 methyl groups in carbon number 2. That's 2,2-dimethyl. And then we have bromine in carbon number 5. That means that's 5-bromo. But now when it comes to naming, we have to follow the alphabetical order rule. Remember, B comes before M. So now when we name, we have to say what? 5-bromo, 2,2-dimethyl hexane. Let's see the name. 5-bromo, 2,2-dimethyl hexane. And that's how you name that one. Let's check a similar one. The longest chain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pentane. But we have a similar situation here. When we start counting from this side, this is 1, 2. We have a bromine in carbon number 2. Also from this side, we have 1, 2, and then a methyl branch in carbon number 2. Where are we going to start numbering? Is it from this side or that side? The rule says the alkyl groups will always have first preference over the halogens. That means numbering will have to start from this side here. So this is carbon number 1, carbon number 2. In carbon number 2, we have a methyl group. Also in carbon number 3, we have a methyl group. How many methyl groups? 2. So that's 2,3-dimethyl. And then we have our bromine in carbon number 4. So that's 4-bromo. But when naming, we have to respect the alphabetical order rule. Bromine, B, comes before methyl, M. So how do we name this one? That's 4-bromo, 2,3-dimethyl pentane. And that's how you name that one.